Ah, microphone. Always forget something. Oh, always. Yeah, it's caught on my chair. Always forget something. Always. All right. Caught on my chair. So we can get rid of this. We can stop that and figure out what we're doing, I think. And I don't know what the hell this is. Ah, comments. All right, we'll do that quickly. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Yeah, that's the wrong control tab. I want this one. Strange, it does that. So if I switch to the browser, I can't navigate very well. Well, I'll have to work on that. All right, so these are quick comments. Somebody said something about True OS, Ubuntu Ultimate Edition, Linux, or Mint Linux OS. Fascinating. The James McGinn guy, the global warming denier, or whatever the hell he is, just we don't make any carbon. Post the same link. I mean, this is a video I've already watched, and he posted on my start here video. It's just kind of obnoxious. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, it's not on the subject. It's about water molecules. It's being a cunt. Did Ken ever talk to you? I've already explained that 4 million times, so you obviously don't give a shit to watch the video, so fuck you. Don't sound right. That gravity pushing it down because it does the same thing as you flip the magnet upside down. Yeah, well, magnetism happens after gravity does its business, then the magnet filters whatever's left, and they're two separate things pretty much. Same thing, made out of the same stuff, but they're separate in their function, shithead. The rays of force is the line. Whatever that means, it's retarded. You need to get a ferrocell in capital letters and try it yourself. I have ferro material now, so it's not what you think it is, retard. The materials are not moving that fast, and black hole in the center is there. I get one of these devices. I'm saying the black hole isn't there. It's just because light can't get there because there's more ferrous material in the way. You idiot. Anyway, I'm just too fucking stupid. Too fucking stupid. So I did do a little bit of, for my own purposes, just an image twidges back and forth between the Fisher 8 and the Volcano's major thingy. It's a little bit annoying that this keeps popping off. So anyway, this is the crater here. I'll stick this somewhere. And then I have to stick the pop-up chat back in, and that is, let's see, what window is that? Very good question. It must be one of these early ones. I'll probably pick poorly. Yep, that wasn't it. Must have a window, right? Yeah, it must have a window. Oh, see, that's what it does. Fucking cunt. Why does it do that? Yeah, why? Let's see if I can find a... That looks like a chat thing to me. But probably isn't. Yeah, it is. Look at that. All right, so there we have something accomplished. Now I could play a video, I guess, because there won't be anybody in the room yet. But I just don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, I don't know if I want to play that stupid Sean Carroll and the Higgs boson. It's rather tedious nonsense. But just their whole understanding of particles and how they would behave and what effects you would end up creating if you accelerate electrons or protons to fast speeds, it would seem logical to realize that their function might change if you're moving them really fast, and that maybe they'd even lose their charge. And that's something that might fly off of the collision, might not necessarily be anything that's real. And they, they'll concede in the sense the Higgs boson is supposed to have a lifespan of a zillionth of a second or something. Because they're not actually seeing this stupid particle. They're just seeing what they think it does after it's created. That is, it exists and it immediately degrades or upgrades into some other thing. And they say, well, because this other thing exists, there must have been a Higgs that it was made out of. And it's just assumptions. It has, just tiny shreds of, I wouldn't even call it evidence. It's just so shreddy. It really just doesn't, it's not good enough. It shouldn't be good enough for all this confidence they have in this theory of reality and these stupid fields. So the other thing I was watching was a Bill Gates video, the rope guy, rope theory. And it's too bad I can't get these people to interact, because it's like all these people's theories always have some replacement for bent space, and the replacement is always something as stupid as bent space. It's not really an improvement. I mean, this idea that every single elemental particle is attached to every other single elemental particle in the universe would be just, that doesn't sound at all right. Just on the face of it, you're just saying that just sounds more complicated than the matter itself. I mean, way too complicated. Hi, Gary. Have a good evening. I don't know what that means. We had a death in my main hub of a community lately. Oh, interesting few days. Anyway, take care and all the best. We had a death in my main hub of a community lately. Pet frog or something? I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I mean, as a planet Earth icon. I have superficially followed you for quite some time. Interesting stuff. Yes, well, I have to do better than be slightly interesting to the slightly interested. Got to do better than this. Because frankly, it's just it's quite obvious for me looking in hindsight, after I've been to the promised land, it's quite obvious that how obvious this is the place to be. It's so much more logical. So anyway, so that's what everybody's got to do, is they have to fit the existing evidence. And the existing evidence is this idea of an inverse square law kind of gravity, which the Bill Gates guy doesn't pay too much attention to. Even though it seems to me that's something you really have to fit. So there's a few things people have to fit, and so they fit it with either an ether or fields or counter space or something that replaces the function. But the thing is never anything that actually has energy obviously in it. And that's the part that seems so strange, is nobody's remaking of this truth or reality or evidence is ever put in a context where it produces energy, where it would be a source of energy, something that just seems quite necessary. All right, that should be good enough. And then couldn't find a reason to attack me. Oh no. There, I did it. I don't know if I exactly attacked. I just, just saying it's I have superficially followed you. Oh, thanks. I love superficial followers. So I'm just saying, I mean, I'm supposed to, oh, that's just so charming. And then you start by saying, I'm basically in the middle of some death crisis. I mean, like, that's going to pick up my mood. Have a great day. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what, but whatever. Fine. So, so yeah, so you have these basic facts that you have to fit the evidence to. And it's like nobody does what I think is you automatically know you have to do, which is you have to have a source of energy to explain magnetism. And you have to have a source of energy to explain gravity. So you can't create some dead thing and say that's a replacement, because it's just another dead thing that you're going to have to just pretend does magical things, that has a magical source of energy. And that is the same point of that. See, that's how you don't get banned. People, stop whining to Gary about your BS, whatever that is. But yes, fine. So yeah, so it is interesting. It'd be good to be able to, point out a few of the obvious problems with some of these theories. Like, Bill Gates' theory is essentially photons are movements in the rope. The ropes tangle, and the photon would be like the tangle in the rope. It's that kind of idea. So the energy has to be made out of the medium. But it doesn't make any sense, because obviously we kind of know that photons don't go where something is. They just go where they're headed. So, I mean, you could kind of demonstrate kind of obviously that the photons aren't really following some kind of rope to another elemental bit, because then there would be a bunch of crooked movement in the photon's path, especially when things are moving that the photon's heading towards. So something is very far away, the photon's heading there, it'd end up taking a curved path because the thing is moving if it was following some ropes. Little things like that. I mean, they're just obvious problems. And then, the Jeff Yee guy's, theory of the ether thing, dependent on these little power cells, this little idea of an energy center inside of everything. All the little elemental bits have some sort of vibrating thing that is the source of the energy. And, again, it's, why complicate things when we already know? I mean, it seems kind of obvious that we can split things into two categories, the matter stuff, the stuff that's not moving the speed of light, and the stuff that is moving the speed of light, the forces versus the matter. And then you don't have to create some energy if you just say the force is always going to be responsible. So if something happens and happens at the speed of light, a force did it. So there was something expelled or excreted, that was somewhere else. It wasn't generated. It was stored, or it was filtered. But those are the only two choices. Either you store the energy, that you collect it and trap it, or it goes through you, it comes into you, and you expel it in a new form. Same energy, just in a different configuration. And it seems obvious that's what's happening in the universe. All the facts point to that's the answer. That's all that's happening. And I don't know, and I don't know why it's such a hard sell. Why should I have to go through all this crap, years of arguing to get people to say, yeah, I get it. Force and matter. The force makes all the movement. The force is moving the speed of light. The other stuff moves less than the speed of light, because when you hit a heavy thing with a light thing, the heavy thing doesn't move as far. There was a little mistake inside of one of Bill Gates' videos. He was talking about gravity and how it works. And he was talking about little bits being out, in the very end of the universe, little dust or little tiny atoms all by themselves, way out on the edge. And he was talking about how there would be no gravity pulling them in to the rest of the universe because they're too small. And it's like there's a fundamental misunderstanding, revealed there, in the sense that, it's something I forget often too. So it's a mistake that's easy to make, that gravity doesn't care, how big something is. The effect is going to be the same for every individual atom, every little bit inside of the atom, as it is for the whole object. So it just doesn't matter how big something is or how heavy it is. Gravity is going to affect it exactly the same way. Exactly as much force proportional to its size will be exerted. That is, it will move the same exact speed, and be compelled to move with the same urgency, whether it's a piece of lead or a single tiny atom of lead. Why is classical mechanics based on acceleration? I don't know if it is, but I hate the word classical mechanics because it's like a throwaway line. It's just a way of somehow insulting, rational mechanics. Okay, so why don't they just call it rational mechanics? Because there's nothing wrong with classical mechanics. It's not been found to be in error. It was found to be incomplete. So even the way people are describing it, in my opinion, is just asswipe nasty. Their quantum woo of entanglement and Heisenberg and none of that stuff have been proven at all. So they have a completely mushy, these additions they're made that they say are somehow new and modern and real. They don't have any evidence for them, and they play no necessary role. And so, you're using this classical mechanic line, but again, it's really not just classical. It's foundational and it's rational mechanics. And clearly, acceleration is important, but velocity is important. Movement's important. Movement is an expression of force being transferred from one thing to another, or force being trapped inside of something. So velocity is an indication of something that has gained imbalance. It's trapped something. It has something the stuff not moving doesn't have. And what it has in it is force. And that's why it has an impact when it hits something. It's because it's got force in it. Of course, there's going to be an impact because the force is going to be released. Not complicated at all. So there's nothing wrong with classical mechanics at all. They haven't proven one element of it wrong. We still have tractors and not tractor beams. Yes. Not to imply that tractor beams are impossible, but I have talked about them before, that again, the pulling idea is really hard to do. So somehow you have to, absorb an awful lot of force to create an artificial gravity. So that's essentially what a tractor beam would require you to do, is essentially create a laser beam of gravity, which means you have to absorb the force that would have gotten to the other object. And it's very hard to absorb force without the equal but opposite reaction thing and all of that crap. So, yeah, tractor beams are going to be a little tough. But it's all this stuff is just based on, like I said, the amount of evidence they had, the whole standard model. Now, see, they call it the standard model, and nobody says that with a a look on their face. The standard model, they should be talking like it is a piece of like raccoon shit. Because it's just a piece of crap. Every element of it has so little foundation in evidence, And it's all just made out of assumptions and speculations that they've all said, yes, let's go with that. Yes, let's go with that. And once they go with something, then they just have to find all the catches they can do to make it work. And you can sort of see that with Bill Gates' rope theory. He has thought about it, and he comes up with answers to why this happens or why that happens with some rope tangling explanation. And some of it can sound plausible. But it's not the reality. And so they can do the same thing with their standard model, and they can have these assumptions and say, well, we can make it work. But that's all they do. They force it to work. And it works in this bizarre way where, they're again searching for where the energy comes from for like gravity. Because they know bent space isn't an answer. So, essentially the particle physicists have to explain where the energy comes from their point of view, in a way. And so they invented this idea that this Higgs particle is the source of the energy. It's this, they have a thing called a gluon, before that. And, they're just forcing themselves to create something that has this rubber band ability, and that, could be in some pre-stretched or pre-contracted state, and therefore they can explain where the energy comes from, because it comes from these little bits that we never see or can't detect and only last for a millisecond. And yet these are the things responsible for moving planets around, And everybody just goes for it. They just say, oh, yeah, well, these are eggheads. They're supposed to be smart people. Therefore, they're silly, silly. It's almost like the sci-fi movie. You can make a sci-fi movie sort of make sense. Back to the Future or something. It's a stupid premise, and when you think about it logically, it can't really happen. But they can make it work, and that's all they're doing. They're just making a story work, and it's just a story. And it has elements in it that are just vacuous. They're just silly. The magical bent space fairy, and the magnetic fields of happenings. It might as well just be saying gingerbread. They might as well just blame it on some kind of fairy dust, because their explanation doesn't have anything physical in it. It's not physics. So, the image of the fissure is much, it's like 50 feet higher today. So it's kind of getting worse rather than better. But the wind is blowing the opposite direction now. Not exactly opposite, but so it's blowing towards the camera. So the view isn't nearly as good as yesterday. But once the night vision goes on, then it'll probably be the same. It won't be nearly as fudgy. And the crater, it's starting to get twilight, I guess. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of steam coming out. So it might be raining it might be cloudy up there on the peak of the volcano. And such. So let's see what else is news. I just don't. I should play videos, but I just don't have any. Just not enthusiastic. It's got to be a better way to argue it, I suppose. Just because they don't really. There's no, the Sean Carroll video just doesn't have anything in it but their assumptions. About how the universe works, and that there's not real particles, and there's just fields, and and so there's so little. It's like you've lost all connection to common ground. So anyway, the Piro script, for people who were here yesterday, didn't work. So it was nice of him, but yeah, it was too. I knew it was too easy. I mean, when you buy cheap server space, they're not gonna let you do any of this stuff easy. You want to do something interesting, they're gonna force you to work at it. So, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have done a room tonight. So I'm really not just irritable. I'm just annoyed that they're just really. I mean, there's no, the comments all suck. Nobody answers the simple questions I've asked. There's just nothing to, can't get anywhere. There's no traction to be had. And such. So maybe I'll just cut it short, save us all some time and productivity and all that kind of stuff. Just wanted to sort of see if this sort of worked, and it sort of did. So it's a little bit more, it's a little better than nothing. Anyway, what else is there to say? Yeah, there's nothing. So yeah, I'm just too tired, I guess. So I'll wait till I'm less tired to go through all this minutia some more. But it really shouldn't require. I mean, it's just too good an idea to be dismissed so casually. And it's just so irritating. It's you're only, again, in hindsight, it's going to look so obvious, and it's going to be like, well, why did it take so long? Why do you have to work so hard to, to have a better idea take its rightful place in the right order of things? But I guess you could argue that evolution is still not believed by most people on Earth, and it's proven beyond all reasonable doubt, and people just are persistently unreasonable, and it's really irritating that they get away with it. Like somehow somebody doesn't point out every day that people are belligerently and persistently unreasonable. Yeah, well, I was fine too, but I just don't know if I'm in the mood to do all this stupid quirky bullshit. I mean, it's just so much bullshit. Um, even though the name Quark, it just sort of reveals how this happened. Was something happened that they couldn't explain? It was quirky. The results were quirky, and they ended up calling the thing a quark, right? Because it's quirky. It's just and the name's like strange, and it's obviously this is just a description of the fact that, oh, that's weird, and then they just made up an explanation for it because they hadn't have anything else to do but to make it up, and so they just made up these properties and made up this idea. And to some extent, you can see some logic in it because it accounts for charge. The idea of two up quarks in the electron and one down quark, and then the proton has two down quarks and one up quark, and the net imbalance would be one quark different, up and down, and so then you get positive and negative charge. But it's just they're just making this crap up. I mean, they have it's just um it's just so contrived and manufactured, and there's just so little evidence, and they're so confident in this assumption, and it doesn't come from anywhere except for the fact that they just have these, like I said, they assume and presume. They presume they can just move a proton as fast as they want, and the proton behaves exactly the way it's supposed to. It doesn't lose any of its properties. So it doesn't matter how fast you move it, it has exactly the same properties. There's no reason to assume that. Oh, Richard Feynman was an interesting human being, but I think it was a full of shit as a physicist often. Uh, I only appreciate that at least he was somewhat resistant to play along with all this Heisenberg-Huygens crap. But beyond that, so many of his ideas were just crazy. The idea that electrons, the antiparticles, an electron traveling backward in time. I mean, just silly crap. I don't know who Alan Girth is. Why would I respond to somebody called Alan Girth? Richard Feynman, a physicist you most respect? No. Richard Feynman is very no nonsense and New Yorkish. So what? What is happening to Discord Ash? Anything? What the hell is that crap? I don't even know what that means. Eek. Yeah, so to say that Feynman's no nonsense, he got pretty nonsensical later in his career. It seemed pretty nonsensical. I mean, he sort of thought the universe imposed the randomness by some edict. That he really believed it wasn't a mechanical cause. Or at least Huygens is attempting to force a mechanical cause, which is stupid because it's as Feynman pointed out, it's not a wave. Photons aren't a wave. They don't do anything waves do. They have nothing in common with a wave. The force doesn't spread. The force is discrete. It goes to one single location. It's not a wave. But like I said, it's the inconsistencies in quantum mechanics. They all call themselves believers in the quantum mechanics, but none of them have the same definition of what quantum mechanics is. Oh, so this Vane guy is Vin is asking the Ash guy what's happening on Discord. I just don't get the whole Discord thing, so it's not my, it's like what, Twitter with more words or something? I don't even get it. We both hang out in a thing called, I know, I've heard of Discord. I've been there, but it's, still weird. Yeah, well, the voice was a new addition. When I went there, the voice didn't work. They had it, but it didn't work. So, yeah, I just don't see rooms with, once you get more than a couple of people in a room, it just goes to hell. Because the conversation just gets distracted. Everybody just keeps changing subjects, and it just, you don't get anywhere. In my experience, anyway. Yeah, well, that's why I quit doing Tiny Chat. It's just, it really wasn't productive. That's why I stopped doing YouTube rooms too. Well, it's also the trolls made it pretty much impossible. So, took all the fun out of it, so to speak. Yeah, well, saying "Hey, dude" is pretty clear you don't know me very well. Dude is a trigger word, boy. By the way, so that's not even on the subject either. You can't get people to stay on the subject. Physics, people, physics. You want a relaxable music. Isn't that an interestingly poorly written sentence? A relaxable music. Sorry. Yeah, it's too pathetic. Has there been a good movie? No, just fuck you. I'm just physics or nothing tonight. I'm not doing the side chat bullshit. Anyway, I'm not doing anything, frankly. Just I'm apparently not in a good enough mood for this. So I'll just get the fuck out of here. Oh, good. NVM. Isn't that something? He just NVM'd me. I wonder what the fuck that means. I think I'll put him in a timeout. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Jesus. At least I don't have to. I won't have, for the last moments of this room, I won't have to suffer his insufferability. So anyway, so till next time and such, and so forth and whatnot. And I'll try to wait till I'm in a better mood, I guess. Maybe. Need some kind of better strategy, that's clear. Just needs a better strategy. This just doesn't work. Till next time and such and so forth and whatnot.